what we're talking about, pre-planning, or planning ahead for competitive talks and things like that. How do you get the balance of risk right, or how do you go about managing that risk environment?
If I can, the risk is whatever you want to set it on the continuum, from completely equitable to completely divided, and it's okay to have it anywhere on that continuum as long as you set the expectations. So for me, the key is not trying to second guess what each party would like as far as risk is concerned, and really nailing down what do we want this to look like, how much effort, time and dollars do we want to spend in mitigating those risks, or and how do we carve up the risk, who's best placed to take the risk. Do we want to spend a lot of time and dollars mitigating down to a very low level with a high level of certainty, but spending an awful lot in the development? Or do we want to spend very little with some good protection for all parties in there and future proofing so that we get the right outcomes? I don't think there's one answer, but I think that the real key is, and it's the spirit of alliancing, is making sure those agreements and expectations are really knotted out right at the beginning.
And one more just about, there's a lot of talk about value for money and driving innovation and value for money. We're 2.5 years in. How do you think we're tracking on that, and what do you think we need to do to really start to deliver on that imperative?
I think we're already delivering. I think it's not about starting to deliver, it's about building on what we've done to date. And innovation is a great grand word, but actually big wins and little wins is kind of how I look at it. And we've had a number of big wins. Some of the things that we've done: changing the way that RailCorp approach funding for projects, changing the way that RailCorp approach accreditation for people doing work on their signalling infrastructure. They're really big wins that we've already achieved, that we can build on. Little wins such as putting together a team at Glenfield to, almost below the radar, actively coordinate the work of 3 different contract entities and RailCorp itself doing work in one confined area is a real win. So there's a lot of things like that we've done. Recently we had sort of Australia's first in terms of using PEM-LEMS to install a turnout over a weekend, and again a great win, and something that's hard to say really innovative, because a lot of that's been brought from elsewhere into Australia, and a lot of the people that we've brought into Australia have come with those skills, but they're using them here to enable us to move forward. So it's building on that, and then it's really, I guess, turning up the impetus around asking people all the time to think of better ways to do what they're doing.
I'd also add that it's really important to get the staff tuned into the whole innovation value for money equation, because there's a lot of times, David alluded to, that things that probably would be thought of as business as usual are just being done and not captured. And if we really are to capture the whole value equation of an alliance proposition, then that we need to be really spelling those out.
Okay, and one final question just on, we're about to cover off a workshop related to planning for change in a dynamic environment, and do you have any sort of top tips in terms of how to manage or plan ahead for change, because we all know that the landscape does change?
I guess it's all in the word planning. For me, and it's what do you really mean by planning. It's bringing together all the relevant people that you need to think through, this is the way we plan to do it, and then what could change. So what do we know of that could change, and then what do we know of that has changed in similar circumstances elsewhere that could impact on what we're doing, and come up with contingency plans to deal with those things. And then having people sufficiently well educated and well trained so that they can deal with the unexpected. So really, fundamentally, it's down to planning, and it's down to not just planning plan A, but having an understanding of what might plan B, C and D look like, and then people skilled and trained enough to cope with E and F and all the way through the alphabet.
And being close to your client obviously helps that.
Absolutely. In the environment that we're in, where a lot of the work that we're doing is in possessions of the railway at weekends and longer durations, where political events, social events, different things can change that landscape very quickly. You have to be able to replan quickly. So you have to have those people with the skills and tools to be able to do that.